Half in the bag. Dan and Mike are losers.
Hey, Jay, did you see who got robbed?
The Packers?
No, actually, it was Mr. Plinkett.
Elderly man? Oh, yeah. Who would rob Mr. Plinkett?
I don't know. Oh, wait, he had that new HD TV and Blu-ray player.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Boy, in a roundabout sort of way, I feel like we're kind of responsible for this.
Yeah, I'd say you're responsible. Yeah.
So when people talk about having feelings, is this what they mean?
I think so. You know, I've never actually felt anything before, but if I were feeling something, it would be guilt? Guilt?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, guilt.
Yeah, guilt.
That doesn't sound right at all.
No.
So how do we get rid of guilt?
Well, Jay, we do something nice for once. For someone else.
Oh,
Other than ourselves.
okay.
Come on, little boy, let's go. Hi, Mr. Plinkett.
Oh, hello.
Hey, we read about what happened to you in the paper, and we wanted to help out.
That's right, Jay. You see, we fixed this VCR about 10 years ago now, and the owner never picked it up. So we wanted you to have it.
Oh, well, that's great. I can finally watch Secrets with Jacqueline Bisset. I can't wait to find out what her secret is. I think it might have something to do with her pussy.
We also got you a TV.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow. Two weird guys giving me an outdated VCR and an old TV. Well, that's just the nicest thing that anybody's ever done for me.
I guess that seems about right.
That's probably true.
Yeah. Well, I think we've done our good deed for the day.
That's right, Jay.
Let's celebrate by going to see a couple movies.
That's a great idea.
Can I go too? It's been a very rough month for me. First I got robbed, and then my cat died. After that, my girlfriend left me for the milkman.
Well, here you go.
Then my other girlfriend, well, she left me for my other girlfriend.
There's your TV.
And then I got cancer.
Hello and welcome to Half in the Bag. I'm Jay.
And I'm Mike. And in a dramatic turn of events, we saw two new movies that were both good.
Do you know what's gonna happen? You done all this already? As me?
I don't want to talk about time travel.
We both know how this has to go down. So why don't you do what old men do and die?
Why don't you just take your little gun out from between your legs and do it, boy?
Looper is a new film which may or may not be based on something neither of us have ever seen or heard of ever. Like a graphic novel, or a video game, or a book, or some other crap. The movie stars Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a mind-bending time travel adventure story about people shooting other people from other times. So Mike, what did you think of Looper?
What's Looper? I liked the movie. At first I didn't, and then I really grew to like it towards the end. Actually, from the trailer, I thought it was a ridiculously stupid premise.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those dumb, high-concept, studio sci-fi, like, disposable things.
You know, it doesn't even sound like a studio concept. It sounds like a college, like a first-year college screenwriting student. That's what In Time sounded like to me. Like, everyone has time coded in their arms and it's gonna run out. Like someone trying to come up with a sci-fi concept. And the premise is, Joseph Gordon-Levitt and other characters in the film play something called loopers, where the mafia sends people back in time, and then they just shoot them, and then they dispose of the body in the past because they can't kill people in the future because it's more difficult to get away with murder in the future.
Right.
I'm one of many specialized assassins called loopers. We eliminate people from the future. So when criminal organizations in the future need someone gone, they zap them back to me, and I do the necessaries.
The mafia sends people back in time to whack them. Just like, fuck this.
They have this great tool of time travel, and like Biff Tannen, they could have just went and got a sports almanac and made a whole fucking bunch of money. But they just use it to assassinate people. And the logic of the plot is shattered in one scene, which I guess you could call it a plot hole, as the kids like to say, where Bruce Willis, essentially once you're a looper, you have to someday kill yourself because you have to close the loop.
Yeah.
So that you know nothing about this. So at some point in your looper career, your future self appears and you shoot them. And then you're done. And you know in 30 years you're going to also get shot by yourself. So Bruce Willis...
So this profession attracts a lot of sort of lowlifes and people that aren't thinking too far ahead
Yeah,
in their own future.
that just want the money and
Right.
want to live good lifestyles. But in the future, they go for Bruce Willis, and the bad guys and the black hats come for him to take him back in time. But his wife is there, and they just indiscriminately shoot her as she's gardening outside. And the first thought was like, wasn't it hard to kill people in the future?
The whole point of sending people back is that you can't kill them in the future
Yeah,
without
they
getting
just,
caught.
They just shoot the wife because she's there, and I guess you could say like she surprised them or whatever. But they were so sophisticated that they were able to find where Bruce Willis lived in the future, 30 years exactly to when they had to go take him back in time, and they didn't like stake out the house and see that the wife was out back gardening.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here? I don't know. Just fuck it. Let's go inside and get him. The point is, like The Dark Knight Rises, where you shouldn't get too bogged down in the technical details of this, especially because it's a time travel movie.
Well, that's the thing with pretty much every time travel movie. If you really break it down, they all kind of fall apart just by the nature of just by virtue of the fact that they're time travel movies. I mean, you could say like, oh, if this person went back in time and they killed this person, then that would cause an event that would send them to not be sent back in time in the first place, and it just gets completely confusing and convoluted. But there's a wonderful scene in this movie that sort of shrugs all that off. There's a great scene between young Joe, which is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and old Joe, which is Bruce Willis, where Bruce Willis says, we could sit here all afternoon and discuss time travel and the logic of it, and we can make little diagrams and maps, but whatever, that's not really important. What's important is, the facts, and it's a nice little wink, I think, to the audience, like, you know what, don't take this too seriously, because you're just gonna lose your minds and hate yourself.
Yeah, well, it's exactly like the scene from Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Don't know, I've gone cross-eyed.
I suggest you don't worry about this sort of thing and just enjoy yourself. That goes for you all, too.
Yes.
Like any good movie, it becomes about something much bigger than the premise. Bigger themes, people, characters. There's a mother-son complex in this movie. There's lots of...
And father-son complex, too. If you look at, like, the Jeff Daniels character and the...
Yeah.
What was his little henchman's guy?
That
Blue,
guy.
Kid Blue or something?
Yeah.
Sort of has a, like, he wants to make his father proud, his father figure.
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious general plot of the movie with the little kid, but then there was also, like, Bruce Willis, and he had a wife, and they were trying to have a kid. And then the stripper that he was trying to date, remember the stripper? He's like, I give you some money for you and your kid. So it was like another mother and son or single mother situation. So there's things going on all over the place like that. And then the bigger thing happened at the end. Joseph Gordon-Levitt too was like an abandoned child. So I guess in the future everyone has abandoned children, and there are no family units.
That doesn't seem like it would be too far-fetched.
This is not a good thing. My boss will be searching for me until he finds me.
Sweep the streets, get on it. I'm gonna fix this! I'm gonna find him! I'm gonna kill him!
That's actually what I liked about the movie a lot, is the look of the future, because this essentially takes place in two futures. Mm-hmm. It takes place in like 2044, I think it is, and then 30 years after that. Right. So the future of the movie is very subtle. Like, it's a very believable future. It's not too far over the top with, tons of flying cars everywhere, and some things kind of float. Cell phones are like tiny little clear squares. Lots of attention to detail, and I like that a lot.
It's like the most accurate representation of the future, because if you look at like 1980, and if you're in 1980 and you say, what will 2012 look like? And you think flying cars, and so it's like basically we have all the same shit.
Yeah, it's not that
There's
far
still
advanced.
there's still farms. There's still people dusting crops or whatever she's
Yeah.
doing in the movie. There's still like junker cars around. You know, it's the same thing. Since technology has gotten a little smaller.
And it was that's another thing is it was nice to see a movie that is sort of playful, like and is fun.
Yeah.
Because so many movies like of this nature now feel grim and like you think of like the Christopher Nolan movies where they're just so serious and this is a movie that's it's emotional and you connect with the characters, but at the same time there's like fun action stuff.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. I don't know what kind of movie I would compare this to. It had a lot of recognizable elements from other sci-fi type movies. I kept thinking of Terminator. When
Yeah, there's a little
Bruce Willis
Terminator.
is going to kill the kids that could possibly become, and of course other movies like that. It felt like a couple of different ideas here all smashed in one thing, but
But the nice thing was it didn't feel on the polar opposite end of Resident Evil 5. It doesn't feel like it's just lifting things wholesale from other movies.
No.
It's integrated in a way where it's part of a larger picture.
in some way every little idea is going to kind of remind you of something else. But it was original enough to where it totally held its own as a movie. I would have liked this film in black and white. Very
Sort of
noir.
Sure.
Did you get that vibe?
Oh yeah, especially early on.
Yeah, film noir meets like a western, because there's lots of themes like that too. The bad guys had the
Yeah.
black hats, and then what's his face had the gun on the belt, and it was
Yeah.
almost like showdown kind of stuff. And
And the voiceover narration is very noirish.
yeah, that too.
This time travel crap just fries your brain like an egg.
So, the time travel movies, the logic is always cloudy. What made this movie good?
Well, it's good for the fact that it took a dumb concept and made you like it, and the concept kind of grew into something else. It becomes a bigger story about.
It was a jumping off point.
Yeah, it was a jumping off point. It becomes a bigger story about people and relationships, and especially the Looper thing becomes analogous to closing a loop of life, of creating of bad choices, because decisions you make in life kind of stopping them before they get too far. Both of the characters in the film, Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, are horrible, selfish assholes.
Just in different ways. Well, it's
In
interesting to see a
different
movie
ways, yeah.
where the main character is both the protagonist and the antagonist.
Yeah.
Because you sympathize with both versions of him for very different reasons. But yeah, they both do horrible things. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is obviously a contracted killer. He's a drug addict.
But in the end, eventually, he kind of comes to the realization of the consequences of his actions throughout his life,
Right.
and changes that for the better, which makes us like our hero again.
Right.
He has an arc, as they say. Do you know who else had an arc? Indiana Jones.
Hunt them down. But every second that passes is bad.
What's he gonna do?
I'm gonna save your life.
My life! Your life!
What was the point of the telekinetics in this?
Well, that's what allows him the ability to kill all the loopers and become the Rainmaker.
I know that.
Yeah.
But why couldn't he just become the Rainmaker? Why did they have to throw that extra element of science fiction?
I guess to make him more invincible, more tougher for anyone else to, stop. It's a sci-fi thing.
So you're telling me that in addition to inventing time travel, humans also have telekinetic powers in the future?
Sure. Why not?
Overall, good performances. I didn't think it was entirely necessary to apply makeup to Joseph Gordon-Levitt to make him look like Bruce Willis? Or how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was. I guess I understand their motivation for doing it, but I thought it was more distracting than anything. More distracting than it would be if it was just Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and you say, you know what, it's a movie. I'll just accept the fact that that's young Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
With that makeup, I thought he looked more like Robert Forster than he did Bruce Willis.
Yeah, the Spock eyebrows were kind of distracting.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that what he looks like, or did they do something to him? I couldn't figure it out, and then, because I forgot what he looks like. I knew he looks like Heath Ledger. You know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt looks a lot like Heath Ledger.
I need visual proof of this.
It's right here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the makeup, I don't know, like, I guess it's kind of neat. They tried, but I could just see, like...
At least they didn't go overboard with it. Like, they could have gone really far to try and make it look like Bruce Willis. It was, It was subtle, but it was... The fact that it was subtle was almost more distracting. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think I would have preferred if they just didn't do anything.
I feel bad for him because I'm sure he had to sit in a makeup chair for a while. And an actor has to act with appliances on and kind of maybe distract them from their performance a little.
Yeah.
In this case, I think it would have been okay just to go with, like, you know, let the audience use their imagination and just assume that. Because they had a nice little touch in the beginning when he's getting ready and then he goes like this and he checks his hairline. And then he leaves. Yeah. And I'm like, perfect. That's it. That's all I need.
It was nice to see a movie where Bruce Willis actually looked like he gave a shit. I can't remember the last time I saw a movie where he looked like he cared.
Yeah.
Where he actually put in some effort.
Well,
you look at like the fourth Die Hard movie.
Yeah. What about Cop Out?
Or Cop Out. Oh man, that's just he's really giving it his all in Cop Out. He certainly doesn't look like he wants to go take a nap.
Are you being sarcastic?
In Cop Out. No, Cop Out is my favorite movie.
That was a great film.
It was a wonderful movie, and Bruce Willis's best performance.
He was nominated for an Academy Award for Cop Out.
Who gave was that the same year that Daniel Day-Lewis won for There Will Be Blood? Because that's Bruce Willis got robbed. Mm. That Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, There Will Be Blood.
He phones in his performance in every movie.
I mean, I watched it, you know, and kind of bored. And Daniel Day-Lewis, like, I don't know. Phoning it in is the expression.
And then nothing happens in the whole movie.
Right.
It's so boring.
And it's like, that's it? That's the movie, really?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that movie fucking sucked. It's like, ever hear of acting school? But, no, yeah, Bruce Willis. Even though in his advancing senior years, he's starting to look like Mr. Magoo. I notice it in his face. He no longer looks like a man. He's starting to look like Mr. Magoo.
I don't know if I saw that.
He looks like the guy that plays an admiral in Star Trek Voyager.
Okay.
Admiral Paris. And he looks like Mr. Magoo.
Do you ever think that maybe you draw too many comparisons to Star Trek? Not everything is about Star Trek.
Oh. Hello? Yeah, we did place an order for a pizza. Mm-hmm. Oh, is this Mr. Berman? Rick Berman? Oh, yeah, you'll be delivering it? Oh, it's Rick Berman. There's a producer on this.
The guy who produced Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, he works at Topper's Pizza now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I called about half an hour ago to order a pizza.
Okay, is he delivering it?
He's delivering it. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, it was the one topping. Just cheese and sausage pizza. Yeah, you'll be delivering it, Mr. Berman? Yeah, no. We do tip, despite what your records show there. Yeah, we do tip. Yeah. About half an hour. Thank you.
He's gonna take everything you got! And everything I got!
Ask yourself, who would I sacrifice for what's mine?
We both know how this has to go down. Can't let you walk away alive.
So it was surprising as the movie went along to discover while watching it that it's rated R. I don't know why. I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking this was sort of like a general audience PG-13-ish range movie. But then there were boobs. And then there was people getting shots. It wasn't excessive, but it was there and it was used appropriately. I would say it was a mature R-rated movie. It was a movie for adults. It wasn't stupid.
This
and it
could have
wasn't
been a PG-13.
It could have been, but I think the violence in it was used appropriately.
Yeah.
Where it had an impact.
It could have been a PG-13, and it probably should have been too, because it does have a broader appeal. Other than the concept of executing people as the premise of the movie, like the Liam Neeson film called Taken.
Oh yes.
And now it's a sequel called Taken 2.
Taken again. Taken harder. Is that what it's called?
More Taken again.
Takener.
I saw Taken in the theater, and I was like, the first half, I'm like, this is a pretty good movie. I really like this. And then at the end, I'm like, something's wrong here. There was no blood.
Yeah.
Or there was no like F words or anything. And I'm like, this is a PG-13. And I went out and I was like, it's a PG-13 movie. And now Taken 2 is unfortunately a PG-13 as well. But
they should make the rating go down with each movie, like they did with the Police Academy films.
Yeah.
Where it's like Taken 2 will be PG, Taken 3 will be a G-rated family film.
Yeah, where they get taken to the zoo. But yeah, some movies, you like just logically, that's an R, that's not an R.
Yeah.
And I think this could have been a PG-13. It works as an R, works as both, you know. But I don't think it's going to affect the box office at all, because obviously it's doing well.
Do you know what it's not doing as well as?
What's that, Jay?
Hotel Transylvania with Adam Sandler.
By the way, whatever happened to Step Up Revolution? I know we reviewed it, but is that out of the theaters?
Yeah.
Was that a hit?
No.
So, Jay, would you recommend Looper?
I would wholeheartedly recommend Looper.
I would also recommend it.
It's the whole package. You watch it and you feel like you're watching a real movie.
And then at the end, everything ties up nicely, and it has a message, it has a point. Characters have a nice arc to them. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
What?
Oh, fuck! Jay, what are you doing? The phone's ringing. Lightning Fast VCR repair. This is Mike. How can I help you?
Yeah, hi, my name's Mr. Plinkett, and I just got a VCR, but it's not working too well, so I was hoping you can come over here and take a look at it.
Mr. Plinkett?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess me and Jay could stop by in a little bit. I mean, there shouldn't be anything wrong with the VCR.
How would you know? Well, anyway, my address is 847...
Mr. Plinkett, we know your address.
Well, how the fuck do you know my address? You got like a tracking system on me or something?
No, what are you talking about? Did you try to play a tape in the VCR? Did you play the Secrets tape starring Jacqueline Bisset?
Or how the fuck do you know I got a Secrets tape starring Jacqueline Bisset?
You wanted to know if the secrets were about her pussy.
Yeah, of course I wanted to know the secrets of her pussy. What do you got, like cameras on me?
What?
Are you using Google?
Look, Mr. Plinkett.
Does Google have my Jacqueline Bisset tape on it?
Mr. Plinkett, we'll stop by a little later today, okay, and take a look at the VCR.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Okay. What?
That was a fucking weird phone call. Shit.
Is it lunchtime?
It's always lunchtime.
People living in the ruin of the old world. Only one thing fighting for order in the chaos. The men and women of the Hall of Justice.
Dredd 3D is the new film version of the famed comic book character Judge Dredd, who was last portrayed by Sylvester Stallone in the 1995 film. In this newer and bleaker version, Carl Urban stars alongside a sexy psychic while they battle futuristic drug lords in a futuristic housing project using futuristic weapons. Jay, what the fuck did you think of Judge Dredd 3D?
It was good.
Are you doing the Judge Dredd voice?
They call me Judge Frowny Face.
Oh, what are you trying to say?
I was thoroughly entertained by this movie. It's 90 minutes of straight-ahead action and frowny faces, people growling, slow motion, bodies getting shot and exploding, Paul Verhoeven style.
Yeah, Paul Verhoeven. It reminded me of a Paul Verhoeven film meets a John Carpenter film, right?
Yes, yeah. The sort of very simplistic nature of the story, just sort of, we have to accomplish this goal. It all takes place in a very limited number of locations. It's very John Carpenter. And Paul Verhoeven with the violence and the sort of serious tone. I think this movie would have benefited from the more sarcastic humor in the Paul Verhoeven movies, but yeah, visually very similar as far as the way the violence was executed in a sort of completely emotionless way.
It was a little dry, and I think that would be my only complaint, other than digital blood splatters. But you know, there was a lot of blood in this. There was some pretty grotesque things that happened to people, which I was happy with.
It was glorious.
But long gone are the days of the squibs and the violently exploding squibs. Long gone are the days of the scene from RoboCop.
That's one of the most amazing scenes in any film ever.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling as a kid when you see stuff like that. I remember seeing The Toxic Avenger as probably an 8 or 9 year old, and there's a part where they hit a young guy on a bicycle with their car, and then they back up and run over his head. Really, yeah, it makes you sick to your stomach as a small child, and there's not enough movies like that now where little kids can see them and learn to hate humanity.
Well, no, seeing horrific violence like blood and guts makes young kids want to be doctors. Seeing horrific violence like people being shot up makes young kids want to be police officers.
Oh, okay.
And also seeing people get shot up or murdered makes young kids want to be lawyers. Horrific violence in movies, and little kids seeing it just does nothing but benefit society. I really like the slow pace of it. And I liked the fact that it wasn't about a really big story. It wasn't Judge Dredd has to stop so-and-so with the MacGuffin device that will blow up the city.
He doesn't have to save the city. And that's actually one of the things I appreciated about both this and Looper, is that they take place in this large sort of sci-fi environment, but they're a very sort of self-contained story in a larger world, in a larger universe. Some people have been comparing this movie to The Raid, the action movie that came out last year, which I still have not seen. It's one of those movies I've been meaning to for a while. But to the best that I can tell, the similarities sort of start and end with the fact that they both take place in one building.
Yeah. To me, this more has a Assault on Precinct 13 kind of feel to it. And I think that's why I get the John Carpenter vibe from it, is like RoboCop is always just kind of like walking around by himself, and like there's a scene in this movie where Judge Dredd goes into the chemical lab where all the people are making the drugs, and it's straight out of RoboCop 2.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It's the exact same situation.
Peachtree's is the manufacturing base for all the slow-mo in Mega City 1.
You know how often we get a judge up in Peachtree's? Well, you got one now. She has control of everything. Levels 1 to 200.
This is Mama. Somewhere in this block are 2 judges.
That's not good.
Basically, the plot for Judge Dredd is Dredd takes the rookie cop out, and she has psychic abilities. They go into what is essentially a giant futuristic housing project to respond to some murder calls, and they get trapped in there, and the housing project's run by a drug lord. So basically the building gets locked down. I guess you could throw a little Die Hard in there too. And the situation is there's all these like gang members everywhere trying to kill Judge Dredd and the rookie. And that's the plot.
That's it.
Got to get out. Got to get to the top. Got to get the drug lord. A very Die Hard meets RoboCop. You know, the very simple plot.
Well, there's some movies where the plot, you would describe this plot as simplistic as a negative, but this is one where it completely works in the movie's favor.
Yeah.
Like, I loved the sort of narrow view of what the movie was.
Right.
Like you were saying, it's not about a plot to, save the city or anything like that. You get the impression that this is the kind of thing that Dredd goes out on all the time.
And this thing, like, I'm sure they have more scenes in this movie that might appear on a special edition disc or whatever, but like there was almost zero characterization in Judge Dredd, and I love that.
Well, that's again one of those things you would complain about in other movies, but in this movie it works completely.
Yeah.
The sort of straightforward nature of the character. This is the kind of situation he's in all the time, and kudos to Carl Urban for keeping his fucking helmet on for the entire movie.
Yeah.
There's no vanity there.
Carl Urban never removes his helmet, and
he just frowns and grunts.
He frowns, and yeah, you'd think an actor would just be, I have to show my face in this, like I have to have a scene where I cry and where something ties, but he never ever takes his helmet off. And I think actually in this movie the rookie is more so the main character, and Judge Dredd is just Judge Dredd, and he works as Judge Dredd. There's a little bit in the beginning when she's using her psychic powers, and she sort of reads Judge Dredd. She's like, there's a man here, she's on the other side of one-way glass. There's a man in there, he's a police officer. Or a judge, I guess they call them judges in this movie. And he's dark, but there's something else, something hidden. And they're like, okay, that's enough, and you're about to get some information about Judge Dredd, and they cut it off and they just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Well, it's sort of, again, like Looper, it's a little sequence that's sort of very subtly breaking the fourth wall. Mm-hmm. Like the discussion in Looper about, we could debate time travel all day. Like, that's a little hint to the audience. Like, you know what, that's not what this movie's about.
Yes.
And this movie does that too. Another thing I really liked in the movie was the use of slow motion, which is something that is kind of overused in a lot of movies these days. The Zack Snyder and the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter speed up, slow down thing. But here it was only used during the sequences where people are taking that drug. Is it called slow-mo?
It's called slow-mo.
The drug is called slow-mo. Yeah. And so you see the effects of it. You see the way people react to it. And there's some sequences of horrific violence that happen in that kind of become sort of beautiful in an odd way.
Spoiler alert. He does kill the villain at the end, the drug lord. Her name's Mama. And it leaves you with sort of like this sour taste in your mouth, or this bitter sweetness, because he makes her smoke the drug.
Yeah.
Which she does to other people, and he throws her off this balcony, and it's like 100 stories down, 200 stories, and which is really cruel because she does that earlier in the film to some of her victims, and you see her falling in slow motion to her death, and it's all sparkly and slow motion, and she's on the drug, and it gives you some time to think, and you kind of think about her character, and she was a former prostitute who was probably abused, and she had a scar on her face, and so it's almost like a tragic villain almost, because she was not just evil but kind of pushed that way because of the society they live in.
Yeah.
And the Judge Dredd just does not help that situation at all.
Yeah.
It's just violence perpetuating other violence, and it just becomes this sick cycle.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in there where the rookie kills the guy, which I didn't think she was going to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
It's like a guy who's begging for his life, and he's like, it's a verdict, death.
Yeah.
And she basically has to just shoot him in the face, and you're like, wow, they have to get a handle on crime.
Yeah.
But I guess now that I think about it, the movie brings up themes about police enforcement and laws and how that affects society, and just a city with that much crime, you have to be brutal to control it, but then it becomes this brutal dictatorship, and it's it asks a lot of questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Well, that's the whole idea, is that they're not just police officers. They are sentencing you to death on sight.
And so the main character, the villain, kind of comes from this really bad spot. She She bit off a man's penis and had a horrible scar on her face. So obviously she's twisted and deranged, probably because of years of being a prostitute,
surrounded by violence,
or from coming from this environment.
Yeah.
So the environment that Judge Dredd is trying to protect is breeding criminals like this. It's like this cycle, and maybe that's what the comic book is about. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you a thing one about the comic. But.
The sentence is death.
So, as previously mentioned, we are going to compare these two films and decide which one you should spend your hard-earned dollars on.
Well, in a perfect world, people would spend their money on both movies, but this is going under the assumption that, let's say, for whatever reason, you can only see one of them. They're both very good, so which one would you lean more towards?
Well, I want to say Looper, because it's an original idea. Judge Dredd is a wonderful film. I want to say Judge Dredd on the... I guess we're not going to come up with an answer, are we?
Well, there's pros and cons to both, I guess.
The recommendation question, Jay, has always been difficult for me.
Well, that was the whole point of this segment, was to say if you had to choose one.
I would recommend it for date night, because secretly, women love violence when they see people getting murdered.
Really?
Yeah, Sigmund Freud discussed it.
Oh.
It's,
Did he cite RoboCop as an example?
He did. If you bring a girl to Judge Dredd on date night, you're getting laid. You bring a girl to Looper, they're going to say, well, you're no Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
But I would say that overall, if I had to pick one, I would say Looper.
Well, I'm going to say Judge Dredd, just to counter your argument.
That's always the best reason to come to a decision.
I admired Judge Dredd's take on the simple stories, the take back to the Die Hard kind of movies, where it wasn't saving the world, it was a nice small story in a bigger universe, in a bigger comic book type universe. I like the fact that that was scaled back.
Well, that's the nice thing about both of these movies, is that neither of them are very high budgets, which I think is good.
Yeah.
Because they both look great. They look probably bigger than they actually cost to make. But compare, I think Looper was like $30 million to make.
Oh, wow.
Compare that to, the latest Adam Sandler animated Transylvania movie, whatever the hell that is.
Looper was only $30 million, huh?
Yeah.
I guess that explains why half of it took place in a farmhouse.
There you go. But yeah, movies don't need to cost so much.
We made our film Feeding Frenzy for only $4,000, which is available on DVD and digital download.
Would you say that Feeding Frenzy is better than Looper and Dredd?
Yeah. You don't even have to ask that question. Feeding Frenzy's got it all. It's got humor, it's got action, it's got lots of gore and puppet effects, and it's a really fun movie. Jay, would you recommend Feeding Frenzy?
I would wholeheartedly recommend Feeding Frenzy.
I would recommend it to almost anyone.
Yeah.
Because
Grandma.
really, grandma, a little kid, date night. It's a perfect date night movie.
The only demographic I wouldn't recommend the movie to is mimes.
Mimes?
Mimes.
Yeah.
I just think they're creepy.
Well, the good thing about mimes is they can't tell you how bad the movie is.
Oh, looks like Jackie Gleason's still dead. Oh, I hope it's not another Michael Bay movie.
Hey, Mr. Plinkett, you called us about the VCR?
Oh, thank God you're finally here. Look, my VCR needs some work done on it.
What? Conference. Just a minute. Jay, I don't think he remembers us or all of last year.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
I've got it.
Yeah.
Call social services and let them know that there's a confused, sick, elderly man that's desperately in need of medical attention.
You numbskull!
Oh!
No, I've got a much better idea.
Oh!
See? Well, Mr. Plinkett, me and Jay have talked it over, and we feel that a repair job of this nature will cost you $100 an hour.
Oh, well, that sounds like a fair price. You both look like fine, upstanding young men. I'm sure you wouldn't try to pull a fast one on me. Well, Get to work. If you need anything, just give me a holler.
Jay, I think we're back in business.
Thank God for dementia.
Yay!
What?